Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Shadowrun Dragonfall Director's Cut with me, Ulshouse Gaming. In the previous episode, we first reviewed the DVD that we forgot to do in the episode before that, and then set off with Iger to take care of the engineer here. Now, we've managed to catch him and started interrogating him, but unfortunately, well, he ain't selling out his clients. So, we need to run around and find some intel to try and corroborate and see through any of his lies. First things first, what we're going to want to do is we're actually going to head back towards the entrance and find a ledger. There's a small ledger lying on this crate. The cover is cheap leatherette, and the paper is tissue-thin newsprint. Leaf through it. Pages are filled to overflowing with handwritten text. You don't recognize the language, but judging by the accent marks, you'd guess it's a Scandinavian tongue. While you can't read it, the arrangement of the text tells you that the ledger is primarily being used as an address book. Pocket the book and move on? Might as well take a look at some of the other stuff around here while we're at it. Forklift's tires are flat. Looks like it hasn't been used in years. Oh well. We might not know the Scandinavian language, but perhaps Iger does? As you approach, you can see the engineer's chest is sheeted with blood. Most of it seems to be streaming from his nose, which has been crushed into a wad of bloody meat. Iger turns to face you. Her bunched fists are dripping red. Find anything? She speaks to you through clenched teeth. Her voice sounds strained and her cheeks are flushed. Having fun? I'm not doing this for fun. I'm doing it because he deserves it. If you knew half of what this bastard has done, if you'd heard the things he just told me, you'd do the same. Maybe so, but you're on edge, and I need you calm. Beating on him isn't helping. She pauses, then turns away. Just tell me what you found. Yes, please. The engineer's voice is thick and wet. He smiles through a set of gore-streaked teeth. Enlighten us. Found this ledger. I don't recognize the language, but it looks Scandinavian. Iger leafs through the journal, quickly flipping the soy-cap-stained pages. Norwegian, maybe. I'm thinking that this is written in Bokmål. She frowns. I can't read it, but it looks like a shipping manifest. Yeah, something like that. There are a lot of addresses in there. She rifles through the pages, flipping the cheap paper with her thumbnail. Looks like addresses all the way through, but some are annotated, but I can't see any names. 2/3 of the way through the book, she stops. Short. Find something interesting? Wordlessly, she turns the journal around. At the top of the page, written in a different hand, is a single word. It's written in English, but you can understand it all the same. Wednesday. She nods. Yeah, not particularly helpful without a full date, but I guess it's something. Of course, Wednesday might not refer to a day of the week at all. Could be code or something. Taken out of context like this, it's impossible to say. So what do you make of this? This should be good. Iger ignores him. Her gaze remains fixed on the book. Might be nothing, or it could mean that he's back in bed with the Lobachevsky Syndicate. The engineer holds his silence. Is that it, Yuli? Are you taking orders from your old bosses again? He pauses a moment before croaking out an answer. Maybe. Who's to say? You are, if you know what's good for you. You going to hit me again? Okay, then yes, I am working for Lobachevskys. You want names? I'll give you names. More names than you know what to do with. What's happening on Wednesday, Yuli? His mouth twists into a bloody grin. This Wednesday? I'll be putting your mother to work on the street corner, and when she's all worn out, I'll give your father a shot at the job. You can do better than that. Go die in a ditch. Did you find anything else? We need to be sure about this before moving forward. I might have missed something. I'll keep searching. Okay. In here, we have a corpse. Let's see, the broken body of a human lies on the floor. His face is a mess of fresh cuts and congealed blood, and his head is oddly deformed. Despite his wounds, his mouth is twisted into a macabre smile. Judging by the shape of the ganger's head, you'd guess that his skull has been fractured in at least 3 places. The center of his forehead is particularly gruesome. It looks soft, as though the skin were stretched like a tent between shards of broken bone. Looking up, you can see a great smear of gore on the door of the room you found him in. The implications are clear. This man bashed his own head in trying to get out. He did it with a smile on his face. With a biotech of 4, you can draw a medical conclusion, but don't worry, this won't stop us from getting a good ending to this. We'll just have to do something else in order to get it. His hands are badly broken too. You've seen these sorts of injuries after bare-knuckle fist fights, but never anything this severe. This man punched something hard and went on punching until his hands were reduced to useless slabs of meat. See, there's also the barrels, but I believe they're fairly useless. Chemical storage barrels, the light jostle shows that they're completely empty. Yep. Instead, what we want is this courier drone. It looks melted. The cargo container is empty. Nope, this courier drone. This generic courier drone has been snapped together out of prefab parts from a dozen different manufacturers. It's a cheap utilitarian thing, remarkable only that it is so incredibly plain. A half-bright teenager could cobble something like this together in an afternoon. The drone sits in its charging cradle, its turbofan unpowered. Cheerful green light blinks on its front panel to remind you that it's still active. So you see the silhouette of something under the flimsy plastic dome of the drone's cargo compartment. Whatever this thing was here to deliver, it's still carrying it. Pop the lid. Let's see. You depress the catch on the container's plastic lid. Rather than swinging open, the lid slides back to reveal a touchpad. It looks as though this thing is password locked. Examine the drone more closely. Taking a closer look, you notice something strange. There is a set of electrical contact plates lining the lip of the drone's cargo compartment. It's a fair bet this thing is outfitted with an anti-tampering system of some kind. With decking or rigging of 4, you can rig into it and try to open it, only to realize that there's a particularly good barrier in place. After this, you can, with a drone control of 6, you can pass a hidden check and the drone will be yours. At 4 or 5, you'll accidentally trip the safeguard and it'll be the same result as smashing the plastic. If you try to force your way into the drone, it will explode and destroy the cargo. You can save the chip with a quickness of 6, but you'll get injured in the process. Or, if you gave Iger the ledger from prior, you'll know the password. Wednesday. Plastic lid of the cargo container pops open with a click. Inside, you find what appears to be a homemade SimSense chip. It sits securely in a custom-made plastic bracket. Take the chip. You pop the chip out of the bracket and pocket it. A few seconds later, an angry hiss comes from somewhere deep within the drone. Step back. As you step away from the drone, the hissing sound grows into a roar. Bright white sparks spit out from the drone's melting chassis and streak across the room. You've seen this kind of reaction before. Thermite. Whoever built this drone must have wired it with a self-destruct device. Within seconds, all that's left of the little drone is a molten wreck on the charging cradle. Foul-smelling smoke pours from the remains. You steal another glance at the chip you recovered and turn away. Okay then, somebody really didn't want anybody acquiring this chip. But let's take this back to Iger. You're back. Find anything else? Found a body in the other room. From the looks of him, he tried using his head to beat down a steel-reinforced door. Interesting, but not unusual in these parts. There are all kinds of drugs that can make a person act that way. Most of them aren't hard to get in a place like Shot Nest. Have you found anything else? Well, there are a pair of courier drones in the other room. No markings, they look custom built. One of them had been slagged, but the other had this chip in its storage compartment. When you produce the chip, the engineer's eyes widen slightly. He turns his head and coughs rack his body. Interesting. This means something to you, Yuli? Iger takes the chip from you and holds it up to the light. No identifying marks, but I've seen enough BTLs in my time to know when I see it. But this is different. It's been modified somehow. Go ahead and slot it, bitch. It'll take you on the ride of your life. Iger raises an eyebrow. Smack him for me, will ya? I'm busy. Your fist connects with the ruined meat of the engineer's nose. He coughs, chokes on his own blood, and then spits a wad of it onto your chest. You don't know what you're holding, slag. He spits the word out like venom. His eyes are locked on the chip in Iger's hand. Slowly, he licks his lips. You don't deserve to touch that chip. I think you're right, Iger. Our friend here is an addict. The engineer glances at you with a snarl. F you. The thing is, I know our friend's rep, and I'm telling you, he's much too careful to get himself addicted to Sims. She glances at the engineer. His eyes are locked on the chip. If these things have him hooked this badly, they must be even more addictive than standard BTLs. This wouldn't be the first time that something like this hit the streets. Talk with enough Sim junkies and you'll hear all about it. Interesting. Tell me more. There's a sort of legend on the streets, the ultimate high. They call it 2XS. Huh, never heard of it. Supposedly it hit the streets of Seattle a couple of years ago. Vanished after a couple of months. There one day, gone the next. Nobody knows why. Scary stuff. I haven't heard the rumors of anything like that around here, thank God. Look, I'm not saying that this is 2XS or even anything like it, but there are Sims out there that are even stronger than BTLs. It's possible that this is one of them. She turns to face the engineer. You got anything to add to that, Yuli? You have no idea how wrong you are about all of this. He struggles to rise from the floor, but his muscles refuse to cooperate. Finally, he gives up with a scowl. If I could move my arms, I'd take that chip from you and show you what it does. I'm sure that you would. She glances over her shoulder at you. Good find, Talia. We've struck a nerve. Any other thoughts? Yeah, actually, I think I might know where the other chip went. Remember that body I found in the other room? Yeah, good thought. Go check it out, but be quick. I don't know how long it'll be before we have company here. I'm on it. So, yeah, if you had the Biotech 4, you could get it early. If not, then having that conversation with Iger will get you access to it. The ruined body lies crumpled on the floor. Its fractured skull glistens wetly in the light. Search for the missing chip. Peeling back the patch of matted hair, you find something that a casual viewer would have missed. The man had a chip jack. It's a cheap model, sufficient for loading SimSense chips and BTLs, but little else. It doesn't take much effort for you to pry it open. Inside the chip jack, you find a glob of plastic. It looks as though whatever this guy was running melted down sometime after he slotted it. A chip jack like this couldn't generate enough heat to destroy a SimSense chip. The only logical conclusion is that the chip itself was wired to melt down after use. Take the burned out chip and leave? The engineer's eyes remain locked on the chip. His face has gone pallid white, and his shirt is drenched with sweat. His eyes bulge and his breath is heavy. Iger glances up from your manic captive and looks you in the eye. Find what you were looking for? Yeah, I pried his chip jack open and found a blob of melted plastic inside. It was still warm to the touch. Iger examines the remnants of the chip in your fingers. I've heard of things like this before. Single-use Sims, designed to self-destruct after they're slotted. Keeps the customers from using the same BTL over and over again. I'd say that you found our missing chip. Yeah, I agree, but the ganger who slotted this wasn't blissed out like a normal Sim junkie. It was almost the opposite. He looked wild, like a madman. Madman. The engineer lets out a chuckle. It's a hoarse, barking sound. You don't know a damn thing. I know you'd like to get your hands on that chip Iger's holding. If you can move your hands, that is. Hatred burns in the engineer's stare. He struggles to rise from the floor, but after a few seconds of ineffectual thrashing, he gives up. You really want this thing, don't you? She waves the chip in front of his eyes. This is junkie behavior. Whatever this thing is, you're hooked on it. He snarls up at Iger, his face screwed into a look of pure hatred. The chip is everything! Everything! It's worth dying for! I was ignorant once, like you, but then my eyes were opened. I saw the chip. Slot 1, and you become a god! Iger stares at him, her expression flat. The engineer sneers. I too was a skeptic. Then the wolf caught me, and the raven opened my eyes, and now at last I can see! Suddenly he lurches forward. Every muscle in his body goes tight and the cords stand out on his neck. Give me the chip! It was promised to me! I need it! Tell us who you're working for, and it's all yours. The engineer spits out a mouthful of blood. It hits the tile floor with a sickening splat. He grinds his teeth, then snarls out a single word. Winter night. There's a moment of silence. Finally, Iger speaks. Never heard of them. Of course you haven't, bitch. If you had, you'd already be dead. They don't leave loose ends. His body begins to tremble. It looks like the drugs are wearing off. They have money, she-troll. Money and influence enough to put the syndicates to shame. Even I cannot say how much, but I do know that I've seen this as just the tip of the spear. Alright, let's say that you're telling the truth, and some sort of secret society is behind this. What do they want with Schottenest? They do not tell me these things. All I know is that they will want to store things here. Crates, boxes, shipped in from all over. No cargo inspections and no traces back to them. What are they shipping in? Weapons? Drugs? More of these BTLs? He eyes her incredulously. You think that I asked them? It's not my place to know. All that I know is that it was promised to me. Give me the chip! His voice comes out in a shivering screech. You promised! She promised you the chip. Iger smiles at the engineer slowly. She pulls a knife from her belt. Its serrated edge glints in the light. I, on the other hand, didn't offer you a goddamn thing. Now then, you have a choice here. You can let Iger kill you, Lee. She takes some pulse grenades and leaves, which Iger will tweak into voltaic grenades. Voltaic grenades have an AoE of 3 and a base damage of 14. But I don't tend to use those things unless I have to. Or you can sweet the deal with a custom Steyr AUG CSL by making him sweeten the deal. Put the knife away, Iger. I gave him my word. She turns to you. You're not suggesting that we let this monster live, are you? Do you even know what's going to happen when his cyberware powers back up? I'm suggesting that we keep my promise. If he wants the chip so badly, give it to him. She looks at the chip in their fingers, then down at the engineer's trembling body. Slowly, a smile spreads across her face. Not unless he sweetens the deal. You hear that, Yuli? I'll give you what you want, but you need to make it worth my while. He licks his lips and nods feverishly. I have a stash, here in this warehouse, a custom rifle. It's all yours if you give me what is mine. Iger looks back over to you and raises an eyebrow. I could use a new rifle. What do you think, fearless leader? Deal. Once we know where the stash is, give him the chip. The engineer nods feverishly. Over there, in the corner. There's a duffel bag under the floor plate. Now, give it to me! Alright, Yuli. It's all yours. Iger leans in and grabs the engineer's head with her left hand, then pries his chip jack open with her right. She slaps the chip into the jack, then clicks it shut. Seconds pass. Nothing happens. What have you done? Why don't I feel anything? Oops. Sorry, Yuli. I guess that the cyberware deactivator shut down your chip jack, too. Somewhere in the back of that addled skull, I'm sure that you probably knew that, but then, hope springs eternal, doesn't it? I said we'd give you the chip. I never promised that it would work. I'm going to kill you. Do you hear me? I'll rip out your spine. Yeah, good luck with that. The engineer's eyes bulge, and he beats the back of his head against the floor. He opens his mouth to speak again, but the only sound that comes out is a gurgling scream. Iger takes a step back. Something's wrong. Look at his hands. The orc's mil-spec cyber arms are twitching. His fingers seem to move of their own accord, writhing aimlessly in the air. The light on his chip jack begins to blink. How long was that cyberware deactivator supposed to last? She reaches for a shotgun. Longer than this. I'm going to kill Bannock when... The engineer's body surges forward, a violent convulsive motion. His eyes bulge out of his skull, then his chest evaporates in a spray of light. Whoa, step back, Talia. Way back. Damn. As you watch the chemical fire that rages from the engineer's body, blackens, his flesh spits sparks across the room. It's the same reaction that you saw when the drone went up, a thermite reaction. It takes a full minute to stop twitching. His employers, Winter Night, they must have implanted that thing in him. Yeah, judging by the way he reacted, he didn't know that they'd done it. They must have thrown it in while he was getting other work done. I'm willing to bet that if we hadn't used the cyberware deactivator on him, he'd have gone up before he had the chance to spill any names. Well, if you were looking for proof of who his employer was, I think that this was it. She nods, then casts a final glance at the charred remains of the engineer. Yeah, we know who to warn the Flux State about. Let's grab the rifle and go. We're done here. Yeah, well, we certainly made sure he didn't escape. You reach into the vent and retrieve a navy blue duffel bag, just as the engineer said you would. The distinctive shape of a rifle barrel can be seen through the canvas. Here you go, Iger. All yours. She takes the bag from you and unzips it. Her eyes go wide. When he said that this was custom, he wasn't kidding. Gingerly, she reaches into the bag and pulls out a sleek, angular shape. This is a Steyr AUG CSL multi-weapon system. A very nice and very expensive piece of hardware. Yuli put a lot of aftermarket work into this. I don't even recognize some of the accessories he's bolted onto this thing. You feel comfortable using it? She shoulders the rifle and peers through its scope. A grin appears on her face. Yes, I do. Looks like these aftermarket mods have more or less locked it into an assault rifle configuration, but that's alright. I've been looking for a worthy mid-range weapon, and this'll do nicely. That's also why I decided to go for the Steyr AUG instead of the voltaic grenades, because she's been lacking a mid-range option for quite some time. She's either got long range with a sniper rifle or short range with a shotgun. Now we've rounded her out. She slings the rifle, then claps you on the shoulder. Come on, fearless leader. Let's get back home. Hang on, Iger. I'm not comfortable leaving Winternight to the Flux State. I think that we should handle them ourselves. What you're suggesting is beyond the scope of our capabilities. I don't have any contacts in Norway. We wouldn't even know where to begin looking for Winternight. And if we found them, what then? Two of us aren't going to stop an international conspiracy on our own. We're good, but we're not that good. You've got a point there. We'll let the Flux State handle it. Good call. Let's go. Yes, let's get out of here and back to, well, home. Still a little peeved that I wasted 500 nuyen on that chick, but whatever. Kreuzbazar. Luban whisks you back toward the Kreuzbazar, Iger standing by your side. The image of the engineer's body disintegrating in flame replays itself over and over in your mind. The bright flash, the shower of sparks, the overpowering stench of sizzling meat. The blue-green afterimage hangs suspended in the center of your field of vision, and it refuses to be blinked away. From what Iger told you, the engineer was a menace, an international criminal at the top of his game. And as you watched, he was consumed from within by a device that marked him as disposable. The rattle of your U-Bahn car coming to a halt shakes you from your reverie. You're home. And that got us a couple of karma. Not a whole lot, but then again, this is meant for, this is just side objective, side objectives. Not quite sure what to put it into. I'd have to look further down the line. So I'm just gonna hold off. Honestly, not really much to say. We've pretty much worn out everything with Samuel. Maybe we can talk with Altug? Oh wait, let's talk with Kami. We haven't done that in a while. I was gonna say talk with Altug and let him know about Winternight. Hey there, Talia. How have you been? Could be worse. Can't it always? Be well, mein Freundin. Stay safe, alright? No, nothing else? Things are alright. Good, I hope they stay that way. Let me know if they don't, though, alright? I'm always up to help. For now, I gotta help Altug more, though. See you later, yeah? Yeah, nothing new from her. Altug? Oh, right, I forgot to sell the cheap booze. Found this liquor in my travels. Worth anything? No, not quite. I've received cases of this for less discerning clientele. I could offer you maybe 10 nuyen. Sure, I've got no use for it. Glad to be of service. I completely forgot to sell that to him. Oh well. Well, back to the hideout. See if Iger's got anything to say. Maybe check out the terminal, see if there's any new news on the Shadowlands. Beyond that, all that's left are some more personal missions. And of course, petting Dante. Can never forget that. Talia, what can I do for you? Any thoughts on the last run? No, we haven't already talked about. We should talk about what happened with the engineer. She nods. Agreed. I'm ready to go over it if you are. So, the engineer was working for a secret society. I wasn't expecting that. Neither was I, she frowns. Part of me is still having trouble believing it, but it's true. Yuli wasn't lying. I could see it in his eyes. When I left that room to search for clues, the engineer told you something. Something that pushed you over the edge. Her eyes narrow. That son of a bitch said a lot of things. What of it? What do you think? I want to know what he told you. With all due respect, that's none of your business, Talia. Is it? You beat the tar out of the man because of what he told you. As your team leader, I need to know why that happened. It takes her a long time to respond. When she does, her voice carries a tone of resignation. You really want to know? Alright, fine. I'll tell you. He told me about a bunch of Polish towns that my unit swept for syndicate activity. He told me how the mob poured back in right after we left, and what they did to the people who'd accepted our help. He told me about the beatings, the rapes, killing rooms, and the torture, and worse. He relished in describing it, the relentless, hideous barbarism of it all meant to teach some sort of lesson. I think that's the cruelest part of this entire story. Those people, they didn't need a lesson in how terrible life can be. They live with that every day. Yuli seemed to find all of this hilarious. Yeah, I know that he was pushing my buttons on purpose, and yeah, I know that he was trying to make me lose control. But the hell with it. He deserved a good beating. Yuli didn't pull any punches, so I didn't pull any punches. If you have a problem with that, you can go get effed. My problem isn't with Yuli getting punished. It's the fact that he let you play him, or that you let him play you. Maybe, but I can ignore the possibility that he wasn't playing me, that these things did happen. She grits her teeth. That'd be a bitter pill to swallow, Talia. If I leave things where they stand, there'll always be some hope that he was lying. And if I dig into this and find that he was telling the truth, if I find out that none of what he did meant anything, you can't just leave it like this, a question mark. I know you, Iger. You're too strong to run from the truth. I'm not running from anything, fearless leader. I'm going to look into this. Wherever it leads me, she looks you in the eye. But I'm not going to do it today. Well, when you're ready to start looking, you can call on me for help. I've got your back, Iger. She nods. I know it, and I'm glad. Now let's change tack. Is there anything else from the run that you'd like to go over? She folds her arm across her chest. If you had any thoughts, I'd like to hear them. Have you had a chance to play with that rifle that we got from the engineer's stash? Yeah, it's a beautiful piece of engineering. Shoots straight, has good stopping power, holds a big magazine. She nods appreciatively. A really nice gun. You mentioned a bunch of aftermarket mods when we found it. Have you figured out what they do yet? Just one. It can tag a chambered round with an RF transmitter. After the round hits the target, the transmitter pings on a designated channel, broadcasting the target's exact location to anyone listening in. In layman's terms, you can use this thing to mark a target. There's a cyberware that does the same thing, and Deckers do it all the time, but this is the first time I've seen this kind of functionality on a rifle. Not bad. Not bad at all. Agreed. I've been reluctant to cart an AR along with me up until now. In my opinion, the added mid-range stopping power didn't justify the trouble of carrying another big, bulky weapon into the field. Being a walking arsenal is fine and good, but it's also noisy and cumbersome, and those are two things that every sniper tries to avoid. She pats the engineer's rifle. This thing, though, adds enough utility that I think it's worth the extra weight. I'll find a way to make it work. Have you been able to do any digging on Winter Night? No, there just isn't much reliable information out there. Whoever these guys are, they're very good at information control. None of my contacts can find anything but rumor and conjecture, and most of that is too crazy to even consider. Just because it sounds nuts, that doesn't mean it isn't true. The world has more than enough crazy to go around. True, but what I've been hearing about Winter Night is straight up mental. We're talking about stories about magical nukes and the end of the world. Fenris shamans, Ragnarok, that kind of thing. She shakes her head. Like I said, nuts. Yeah, and the most powerful corporation in the world is run by a dragon. Like I said, crazy things happen. Fair point, but this is just too far out there for me to accept. It's far more likely that they release these stories themselves to throw people off whatever they're really doing. Anyway, we stopped him cold in Shot Nest. Whatever their business is, whatever was going to be in those crates that the engineer was having shipped there, it isn't our problem anymore. The Kreuz Bazaar is safe. On that front, at least. Yeah, it is. And we've got you to thank for that. And you. Don't downplay what you did back there. Anyway, we shouldn't let it go to our heads. We still have a dragon to worry about. That's all, Iger. Thanks for the talk. Thank you, Fearless Leader, both the chat and for the assist on the run. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Nothing right now, Iger. Alright. Let's check the terminal. I know we're out of time, but I just want to check this real quick. No unread messages. Let's check the Shadowland. See, post pay data. Nope, nothing. Search for BBS. Formula 17. Oh boy. So we've all seen this one floating about the tricks. This is some serious stuff. It's got heavy duty corp written all over it. Not a lot of players could be behind something like this. Ares or SK or maybe with a big pharma corp, say Shearing or AGC. It's AGC. Of course, you can never totally discount the Azzies either. Tolstoy, my esteemed colleague, this is indeed a recipe for some top-shelf dreck. Whispers from the shadows say that this is sourced straight from the F-state. Hello, boys. I'm a big fan, you know. Long-time reader, first-time poster. Quite an interesting concoction you have there. I'm just itching to cook some up. So many interesting properties to play with. I've already got a few tweaks in mind for my own special version, 2.0. You sure that you want to do that? This stuff doesn't play nice, and corps are really bad at sharing their toys. You can, of course, always share their secrets for them. Just gotta make sure that you run a little faster than them. Always running. ACW. Like clockwork. Badit, I'm touched by your concern, but don't worry about little old me. I do declare this shall be ever such fun. Ugh, that's concerning. F-State Protection. The writers have it on good authority that the Winter Night cult is eyeing Shot Nest for expansion. We do not have any information as to what purpose they have for Berlin yet, but for the good of the Flux, we should keep a watchful eye on this situation. See attached files for more details. Well, they worked fast. Can't track down much about these guys. What's the big deal? I have a friend out in the Cal Free State who swears that he's worked for them before. Says that they're the real deal, an honest-to-God global conspiracy. I thought it was full of dreck. A Norwegian cult with money and influence to rival the big corps? Come on. Yeah, sounds a bit far-fetched. That said, my buddy is rolling in Nguyen, and hell if I know where it came from. Or maybe I should say was. As in past tense. So what happened? Who went out on a shooting rampage a few weeks back, took out his entire family and a couple of neighbors before Lone Star managed to bring him down. He'll be sitting in one of their Supermax facilities for the rest of his life, and the money got seized as evidence. Whoa, that's horrible, man. Yeah, it was. Thing is, I've read his arrest records. At the time that Lone Star tackled him, he was screaming crazy things. Things about the world burning and a moon made of blood. So maybe there's something to all of this after all. Huh. Energy sources. I've got solar panels like everybody, but does anyone have experience with these mana turbine services? Off the grid, so there are some times when I need to do some late-night decking or maintenance on my telescoping limbs. Is that the thing where a mage comes by and drops some juice into a generator? My buddy was telling me about them last week. Turbine spins the mana around, and the charges last for weeks, he said. Ah, they're a scam, chummer. The mage is going to be out of there with your money before you realize how much power you've actually got. You're better off peddling a bike battery. Alright, well, nothing else. Shotgun Wellenreiter moved quickly on getting information out about those guys. And I'm concerned about Formula 17 with somebody's already messing around with it, but there ain't much I can do about it. But anyways, with that, we have come to an end for this episode of Shadowrun Dragonfall Director's Cut. If you guys like what you see, please leave a like, subscribe for future content. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to get notifications when I upload, or to hit the straw polling to vote for our next Let's Play. And please, leave a comment down below this video. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching.